Salutations, guys! Here is chapter 13 of Charlotte's Web, and you're going to need the following material: a pen or pencil to write with, your Charlotte's Web packet, and of course our book, Charlotte's Web. Gather the things you need, and then meet me right back here. Alright, guys, so let's take a look at chapter 13 questions today. There's my coloring of my last the last picture from chapter 12. So let's take a look at 13, and it says, I know it starts at number 3, and that's okay. Don't worry about that, okay? So let me zoom in. Make a list of some things that were in the garbage dump. So we're going to see someone going to the dump, and we're going to make a list inside of these boxes here. Number 4, why did Templeton like the dump? Is it because A, there were many good hiding places? B, there were other rats? C, there were scraps of food? D, he had another layer there. So which one was it? Number 5, circle the best word that he brought back to the barn. So he's going to look for a word, and was it crunchy, pre-shrunk, intelligent, or radiant? And remember, they tricked, the barn animals tricked Templeton into going and finding a new word for the web, right? So which one of those did he end up using? And then number 6, what does the word radiant mean? We're going to write that here. Number 7, do you think Wilbur is radiant? Oops. Do you think Wilbur is radiant? Yes or no? Simple answer, and it's your opinion. On the back is a coloring page from the book, and you're more than welcome to color it if you like, boys and girls. If you don't want to, you don't have to. All right, now that we looked at some of the words from our chapter, let's take a look at some of the new vocabulary that we're going to see in this chapter and some words to know. So the first one we have is rummaging. Rummaging. Many of you rummage in your desks. Maybe you sometimes rummage in your house. And when you rummage, you are basically searching through stuff, searching through things. So like I said, rummaging through your desks or rummaging through your closets or maybe a drawer, right? The next word is kind of a fun one to say because it doesn't really look like what it's spelled like. Writhing. Writhing is the word. And when you are writhing, you are moving by twisting and turning when you are in a lot of pain. So that's writhing. Romp. Romp is something many of you do, a fun time of noisy play. So recess time is there's a lot of romping going on. And then finally, alder. An alder is a type of tree. Okay, that's an alder tree. All right, now that we've looked at some of our vocabulary words, here are some fun words that I thought you might like to know. Now, in the chapter, they talk about the apple orchard, and that's because Zuckerman Farm has an apple orchard. And an orchard is just like a really big area filled with just one kind of tree or multiple kinds of trees that are growing something on it. Fruit usually is what it is. So this is the apple orchard, and some of you might have seen this before where it's like a bunch of apples are growing in a row, a bunch of trees are growing in a row, and you can just go through and pick them. So this is an apple orchard, and it's mentioned in the book. Next word is hinges. These are things that actually hold doors together, and they make them open. And it could be like a door or a cabinet, and it looks something like this. And Templeton's going to mention it in the when he goes to the dump. So that's a hinge. Like I said, door hinges, they look the same. One part gets drilled into the wall and the other one gets drilled into the door, and it makes the door open and shut. Do you see how it looks right here? Oops. There we go. It holds it open so it can open and close, or it makes it open and close. Then they talk about another thing at the dump called the crank of an ice cream freezer. Now, what is that? Back, long before ice cream was so easily to get, like it is now, ice cream was a really hard thing to make on your own. And you needed this kind of machine called a freezer. And it was very old fashioned, way back long ago. They used to have something like this. And they would put all the ingredients inside of this bucket. And then here they'd have like ice and stuff. And then they would turn the crank to mix the milk and the sugar and stuff that would be the base for ice cream. And the more they turned it, the milk would start to freeze and turned into ice cream. So there he mentions a crank, a broken crank for an ice cream freezer, and he's talking about this metal part right here. Okay. He also mentions the word soap flakes. Now, soap flakes long ago, remember this is a book that was written in 1952. Soap flakes looked like this. It was like a bag of, here comes Cupcake. It was a bag of soap that looked almost kind of like flakes, like this. And you would use it to obviously do your laundry, right? Here's a really old one. Look at that. So those are soap flakes. It almost kind of looks like shredded cheese, but don't eat it. Then Charlotte talks about a story of her cousin, who is obviously a spider, and it's a fish-eating spider. So it looks like this. Isn't that gnarly? There is such a thing as fish-eating spiders. And of course, they're going to live in habitats where there is water, right? Because they need to eat the fish. So mostly like in swamps and areas like that. So, oh goodness, here comes Cupcake. Hi, Cupcake. All right. So here are some images. It's pretty gnarly looking, but it's this big, huge spider that looks something like that. Okay, so there's the fish-eating spider, and you can see the fishes are not that big. They're kind of these small little minnow-type fishes, but nonetheless, I don't think I've ever seen a spider eat a fish. Look at that. How crazy. Oh gosh. Ugh. Learning to love spiders, learning to love spiders. So that is the spider, the fish-eating spider. And now let's go ahead and read chapter 13 and get our questions answered. I'll see you in part 2 of Charlotte's Web, chapter 13.